Good morning, Rise and Freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com. Nice to see you here. How are you feeling today out there? You guys all drinking your cups of delicious Founding Flavors coffee? I know you are, right? No, you can't actually yet because even if you ordered it yesterday, which some of you did, thank you very much. I appreciate you for that. People like Tolly Owens and others, I see you out there. You will be getting it in the mail very soon. I'm very excited to see all the responses yesterday from my coffee company. Who would have thought that of all the controversial things that I've done, that starting a small coffee company, I mean, really, we make 5 different types of coffee at this point, so it's not like we're some like market leader or something like that. But you know what I've learned is when you start coming after somebody else's when you start eating somebody else's lunch, even in a little bit, even if you take a little bite of their sandwich and they're like, "Raw, I hate it." They're,
No, God!
Oh God.
No, God, please, no!
And Camellia
no,
will probably tell you a
no,
little bit more about it later. Just the absolute vitriol that I got from the left, one, and then from a bunch of right-wing coffee companies too. Apparently, there are other people who have coffee companies out there. Who would have thought? I was the only coffee company in the world, right? Saw a need and I filled it. Anyways, I'm just laughing because I will share some of the responses with you here in a little bit, but let's get straight to the news today because we did talk about it quite a bit yesterday. Working out, does that make you right-wing? Yeah, apparently. MSNBC published an article yesterday that I am going to talk with Camellia later about how people who advocate working out at home, that might be linked to far-right politics. You know what? Guilty. Depending on what you consider to be far right. See, the funny thing is that there's literally nothing that the left doesn't call far right. Have you noticed this? That everything is far right. There's never anything that is just right wing. They never say center right. But if they ever do, on the rare occasions that they might center right, it'll be somebody like Mitt Romney, right? Or like a neocon or whatever. Or it'll be like my unfortunate friend Joe Walsh, who was trending on Twitter yesterday because he was complaining about the Libertarian Party. And God, every time you see something trending on Twitter these days, it's always for the worst possible reason. Like this morning, I saw Nick Fuentes trending for saying the N word with the hard R on a podcast last night. And then I saw Alex Jones is trending for always the same thing. It's like Alex Jones was right, and then it's a clip from like 10 years ago or something like that. And then it's some other kind of racist, it's like anti-white racism or something like that. It's just a cesspool. But you know what? At least you've got the Wake Up America show to keep you safe and sane and clean and to talk about it. And we will talk about it with our gloves on, and we will use proper protection when engaging with such things, right? Should we? We should. We'll talk about the Jim to the alt-right pipeline. I have to say, it's when I read articles like these, and I saw Onion Dip's comment earlier, I have to agree. When I see articles like these that say, working out at home, which is mostly what Stephanie and I do, working out at home is linked to far-right extremism, it makes me want to work out more. I mean, are you the same way? It's just like when I see things like that, I'm like, God, I really want to go home. Like sometimes you get trouble getting the gym motivation. You're like, I don't know if I want to go to the gym. But then it's like, Stephanie yesterday or the day before was like, God, Austin, your triceps are huge. And they are huge, like my ass, in large part due to 1, push-ups, and 2, karate kicks, as I decimate statism every single day on the Wake Up America show. We fight for liberty and freedom because one day we might have to fight in real life. We're glad to have you here on the Wake Up America show. Thanks so much for tuning in. You can text the show today at 573-319-1586. Oh, Clayton is coming in here. He's got the scoop. He says Nick was trending for his debate with Destiny. Who is that Destiny guy? He seems like a cuck. I haven't watched much of his stuff, but every time I see him in a clip, he's always like, he's got like the worst posture. I'll tell you what. You know what is really linked with far right politics? Here's my article of the day. Proper posture. Am I right or am I right? Whenever I see somebody with really bad posture, I always assume that they're a leftist. Somebody tell me if I'm wrong here. Whenever you see somebody kind of like slumped over, sitting in their chair, kind of like this, I don't know if I can get hold on, let me see if I can get an angle on this for you. There we go. If I sat on my chair like this, right? Wouldn't you assume that I was not right wing? But like when you watch the Wake Up America show, how does AP sit, right? AP sits up like this, right? This is how you sit when you're linked to far right politics. Can I get an amen? And I have the Giga Chad music here, but apparently it's copyrighted and they nail me with it, so I can't play it. Rare Camellia says Destiny is a cuck. Okay, good to know. John Livehard joining us this morning. What's up, John? He says, morning, everyone. Everybody needs AP for liberty. Everybody needs AP for liberty to love. Don't you want some AP to love? Don't you need some AP to love? You better find somebody to love.
FBI, open up!
All right. I'll shut up. All right, time for us to move on. Talking about the news, Jonah Hill, the attempted demolition of Jonah Hill is a tragedy playing out online. A gang of e-thought feminists online think that they're going to take down Jonah Hill because his ex-girlfriend decided to publish text messages between him and her talking about their relationship and the boundaries, the perfectly what I see is perfectly normal, healthy, and rational boundaries that he wanted to establish in his relationship with his ex-girlfriend that are now being used to smear him, defame him, accuse him of being a misogynist. Because apparently in modern times, well, when have men ever been allowed to have preferences? Women, you can blow up to 350 pounds and it's beautiful and you're perfect and you're all 10 out of 10s, right? But but if a man has a preference or expresses, but you can say, oh, but I deserve a man who's 6 foot tall and makes $1 billion a year. But if a man says, yeah, I'd like it if my girlfriend would, have a salad every once in a while, then it's like, no,
No!
oh God, no,
No!
screaming
God,
pain.
please, no! No!
Greta
No!
Thunberg in there with the, oh, how dare you? How
How
dare
dare
you?
you?
How dare you? Anyways, started off a little silly today. Steffi P, my lovely, beautiful, smoking hot, redheaded libertarian wife, says that she's Team Jonah. Isn't she lovely? Isn't she lovely? Isn't she wonderful? Isn't she precious? She's more than 1 minute old. I never thought true love could be. What's up, Robbie Thurman, Levin214, Kermode Bear, Bluterike, the Onion Dip, joining us this morning over on Rumble. Good to see you. Good to see you. Everybody, if you're joining us on Rumble, do me a flavor flav. More flavorful than my coffee. Hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so that you can get notifications whenever we go live. We'd appreciate it very much. We've got a little sweet subscribe button up on the screen. Boom. Check that out. Isn't that a nice little thing there? We got that, a little subscriber Rooney. There you go. I'm gonna figure out a way to where it doesn't just loop play there soon. Just for some reason it wasn't working, so I want to be able to just hit a button and then that subscribe thing pops up and makes a little noise, but I haven't figured that out just yet. So, pa-ching, pa-ching. Go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe if you can, because AP works to bring you awesome content 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Central Time. The Wake Up America show is brought to you by listeners and viewers by like you, just like when you bought some coffee yesterday. That helps you. Helps support the show. Quest Fanning says women are used to setting the rules. He simply expressed healthy communication. That's a really good point. I like this comment that I've heard on a bunch of red pill podcasts lately. And what they say is that women control access to sex and men control access to relationships. I actually think that's a really good quote, and it makes a lot of sense. And we'll get into that a little bit more with the lovely Camellia Peterson when she joins us this morning at 8 a.m. Aren't you excited? God, I've got so much damn good content today. It's gonna blow your effing mind. Because not only are we going to talk to Camellia Peterson, but I got Ian Howarth is going to be on the show today. Remember him? He's a Jewish British guy lives in Nashville, Tennessee. You'd think he'd come in, he's somebody from Nashville, be like, well, gee, golly gee, partner, how you doing, AP? But instead, he's got a British accent, young guy, and he's Jewish, lives in Nashville. Kind of an interesting fella. And he's not going to be able to be on camera today. It's going to be a phoner. Sorry about that. But he will be joining us today on the phone to talk about, did you see this? The Native American. So you saw Ben and Jerry's on the 4th of July was calling for the return of Mount Rushmore to the Lakota tribe. And apparently a Native American tribe decided to ask Ben and Jerry's to put their money where their mouth is. And so they've now asked Ben and Jerry's to return the land that Ben and Jerry's uses for their factories, their ice cream factories, back to the Native Americans who held it before. You can't make this stuff up, folks. It's so good. See, when you see news articles like that, it makes you think maybe there is a God in heaven, and if so, he loves us, even though he does like to troll us. I know the hardcore religious types are like,
How dare
Austin,
you?
there is a God in heaven. They say that God in heaven is everybody's God. They say that God in heaven is everybody's God. All right, 5 internet points to those who know where that song came from. Come on. Do, 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 do. Where did it come from? They say that God in heaven is everybody's God. I got to do one more time. They say that God in heaven is everybody's God. Nobody? Or maybe there's just a delay and I'm not seeing on the comments. Anyways, all right, I'll move on while you try and figure out what song that is or what show it's from. There's a little bit of a clue from you. All right, let's see. Austin, shut up. Quit singing this morning. It's already too much singing, wouldn't you say? Too much singing?
No,
No?
God!
No, you want me to sing more? Okay, no. Oh, boo. Okay, all right. So, all right, here we go. The Wake Up America show is 1776. Quest Fanning. Damn, dude. You rocking it. Yes. And may my wife refuse my bed if I can't da-da-da-da-da-da. A resolution for independency. Steffi, who let him hit the Delta 8 today? Corey C. Yeah, I'm being a little silly this morning. But when I read the news topics, like the ones I'm seeing today, they crack me up so freaking much that I just have to sing. Fed Up Kentuckian this morning is joining us on the Wake Up America show. He's joining us over on Twitter. He's asking about our coffee. He says, "Do you have a dark roast?" Yes, we do. It's the Adams Patriotic Perk. Check it out at AP. That is actually the most popular one that we have sold so far. We sold about 15 bags yesterday, which we're super excited about. First day. Sometimes for a lot of people who start businesses, it takes a long time for them to get their first sale. So I'm super grateful that we managed to get started right off the bat. And I'll tell you a little bit of our business plan later, but what we're going to do to try and continue to grow. But let's go ahead and talk about Jonah Hill because I know that you guys are here for the news. Oh, and don't forget, sorry, very briefly, John Miltimore will be joining us a little bit later on the show at 8:30 because apparently somebody posted a picture of white people sitting down for a meal outside, and they were saying that they were asking white people. This is like a half black half white race hustler online who was asking what white people think of when they have gatherings like this and there's no black people there and you just are all white people. So white people existing together in a space, happy, enjoying themselves, just trying to have a nice dinner together, not okay, right? White people existing together, no black people, not okay. Anyways, we'll talk about that when we get up to that a little bit later. You can text the show today at 573-319-1586. That's 573-319-1586. We'd love to hear from you today on the news of the day and what it is that you think is is the news of the day that you think we might be missing, and we'd love to hear from you about that. So, we're going to be talking about boundaries here for just a few minutes. Jonah Hill setting boundaries with his former girlfriend. She now accuses him of emotional abuse. It's just a ridiculous story. So Sarah Brady has accused Jonah Hill, actor Jonah Hill, which you know him from like Superbad and a bunch of other great films. She posted screenshots of their text messages to her Instagram story, which right then and there ought to tell you that she is low class. Um, uh, Doing something like that, if someone isn't actually abusing you or hitting you or something like that, airing your dirty laundry in such a way has always been a really low class, trashy move. It's not to say that there isn't a place for doing things like that. I would say, if someone is harassing you, abusing you in a legitimate way, then yeah, calling them out for their behavior publicly and publicly shaming is not something that I'm opposed to. But in my opinion, what Jonah Hill has done here doesn't rise to that level. So Sarah Brady is his ex, and she releases these things like literally the week after he has a baby with his new girlfriend, right? In order to cause the maximum amount of damage, right? So Brady shares screenshots of these text messages on her Instagram story over the weekend, which she claims that Jonah Hill sent. including messages that show Hill demanding that Brady abide by his quote boundaries, right? Boundaries. Oh my God, no. Can you believe it? A man expressed a desire to have boundaries in a relationship. Yes, I know. How dare you? Now, the boundaries which include that Brady, she's a surfer, right? So that she's no longer posting photographs of her in bathing suits or quote sexual pictures, and no longer surfing alone with men or having inappropriate friendships with men or having friendships with quote women who are in unstable places. Now, that is really the key trigger word here. He says, no longer having friendships with women who are in unstable places or from her quote wild recent past. Now, listen, if you're in the entertainment business to a certain extent, right, or you live in Los Angeles or live in New York or DC or places like that, you're going to have a wild past. Okay, my wife and I, we talk about this all the time. She was very sheltered. She lived at home with her mother most of her life, right? It was a big, huge deal for her to move out of her house and come to Michigan and move to Missouri in with me, her boyfriend at the time, and for us to begin a relationship such a way. That was wild for her. Okay. For me, that was a Tuesday in my old life, right? I'm married, and when we call it settling down is what it is, right? I've changed my behavior since then, and my wife and I have boundaries in our relationship. She has boundaries for me, and I have boundaries for her. And that's how we are able to create a copacetic, symbiotic relationship that is built on trust, respect, and mutual understanding. These boundaries are what help to bind us together and create the glue that makes our relationship more fulfilling and rewarding and based around principles that we both share for one another. Um, and we both were very careful in how we crafted and how we worded our vows, our marriage vows together, especially Stephanie on that. We can talk about that later. But I think specifically the most triggering of this to all these psychopathic females out there, the most triggering part of this is not that he necessarily had boundaries, right? Or that she was, about posting sexual pictures. Because listen, the ladies all know that what they're doing when you post photographs of yourself that are in suggestive manners, you know what's going to happen. You can see, not only can you see what's happening publicly, which is plainly obvious of what people are saying, all the simping and all of that, but you also know what's happening in the DMs, right? In the direct messages and how people are responding to it. It's just human nature, right? You're going to get those things. And you know what? A lot of men don't want to have to deal with that. It's not to say some men are, it's perfectly fine. And what I think is important in this too is that Jonah Hill acknowledged, very respectfully, that if she wanted to continue to do that and she wanted to have that, he respected her, and that's fine. They would just have to part their separate ways. But I think really the number one thing here is when you call a psycho bitch a psycho bitch, that is when they lose their minds because they know that they're insane. They know that they're absolutely bonkers, and they don't like it when when these females get together, right? And they're all on their cycles together, right? They're having these insane moments, and they get together and they sort of self reinforce all of their psychopathy. They they don't like it when someone outside the circle, what do they call it, the yoni circle, if you will, they don't like when somebody outside the circle points out that, hey, you're a bunch of insane psychopaths and you're acting like it. And somebody, is if somebody calls them out, then they can't stand that. So here's what he says: inappropriate friendships with men, or quote, and here it is, here's the moment, inappropriate friendships with women who are in unstable places. And let's be honest, there are a lot of unstable women out there, and they're getting far more unstable by the day as they are being indoctrinated not only in academia and universities, but in the workplace, taking on diversity, equity, inclusion standards, going out into the workplace, advocating putting transgender influencers on beer cans, and then calling out people for having, men for having frowdy behavior, saying things like, toxic masculinity, fighting the patriarchy, et cetera, right? These are unstable women, right? These are women who have a screw loose in their brains, and when they get called out for it, they go absolutely batshit. Now, when you get one drunk or a little bit high, or you're hanging out with them in a situation where if you can get them isolated from other unstable females, then they'll admit, yeah, I'm a little bit, weird. I'm a little bit off, right? They're on SSRIs, right? They're on antidepressants. They're usually frequently taking a lot of medications and things like that, right? Jonah didn't want his girlfriend hanging out with a bunch of women who were going to tell her, oh, that son of a bitch, I don't, like the way he treats you, I don't like the way he talks to you, and all that kind of stuff, because that's bad. You don't want your wife or your girlfriend hanging out with a bunch of women who are unstable, who are on SSRI, antidepressants, who are taking a lot of drugs, who are drinking a lot all of the time, because that toxicity then bleeds into your relationship. Having boundaries to prevent that kind of toxicity from entering into your relationship is really, I think, the important boundary that Jonah Hill wanted to set, and it's the one that the unstable females, of course, can't take. I think people are really going to appreciate what Camelia has to say about this. Camelia's there. Stephanie's talking about our vows. There's already a good amount of people who are watching us on Rumble and on YouTube. Make sure you click that like button if you haven't already and subscribe to the channel. It's only going to get better from here. When we get back, Ian Howard to talk about Ben & Jerry's getting a taste of their own ice cream on the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com. It's going to be a good one. Don't you leave.
Donald Trump, and I approve this message. Believe me, Austin Peterson is the best. He's got the greatest Wake Up America show I've ever seen. Whenever I tune in the mornings and watch the live stream, let me tell you, he has got the absolute best content. I love his guests. It's just a total blast to watch, and I highly endorse and recommend the Wake Up America show. It's terrific, believe me.
Hello, my name is Kelvin. Welcome to Frenchy Bush. This is my Didi's website. Now I've decided to speak to you with my real voice for the first time ever to tell you about how cool Frenchy Bush is. But I've decided that this is the perfect opportunity to share with you. Frenchy Bush is a good website. You should follow us on socials. If you like Frenchies or any kind of bulldogs, me and my new brother George are going to try to make your life more fun.
Hello, I'm George. My neck isn't really thick yet, but it will be. We are so glad you're here. Please ignore my floating eyeball. It helps me spot predators who might be approaching from the sides.
Didi made Frenchy bullshit to review things that he uses on me and my brother to tell you if it's good or bullshit. Take this collar, for example. Didi really likes it. Didi said it's really handy because us Frenchies got thick necks. Need something really tough. People think Frenchies are little, but if you look at us from below, you can see we are really pretty buff. Beefcake, yes. Look at my creamy thighs and chest. Yes, you like that?
Big brother, please focus.
Frenchy Bush. Please follow us for more great content and read the Frenchy Bush blog for more fun and cool stuff.
I'm a public defender.
I am a public defender.
I'm proud to be a public defender.
80% of Americans accused of a crime will get appointed a public defender.
Everybody from a speeding ticket to capital murder.
For every dollar we spend on public defenders, we spend $3 on prosecutors.
Public defenders have to do pretty much everything on their own.
Social workers, counselors.
Investigating is another piece of it.
The average public defender holds 300 cases annually.
You never feel like there's enough time.
Public defenders have health issues all the time.
A lot of people give up and say, I can't do this work anymore.
Gideon's Promise trains, mentors, and supports public defenders.
There are a lot of people who say that they would not still be public defenders, but for Gideon's Promise.
It's fueled me to continue on in this fight.
Gideon's Promise has changed the face of public defense.
People see us as troublemakers.
Good trouble only.
We don't make it easy. It should not be easy to take away someone's liberty.
Tired of spending your hard-earned money on woke corporations that don't share your pro-freedom values? Fed up with sipping liberal lattes and progressive cappuccinos? Introducing Founding Flavors from AP for Liberty Shop. Get your day started with Washington's Revolutionary Roast. As robust and principled as the man himself, this blend is the shot of energy heard round the world. Or maybe you want to taste the fervor of freedom with Adams's Patriotic Perk. It's as dynamic and balanced as the U.S. Constitution, sure to awaken your spirit of liberty. For the aficionados, we've got the Jeffersonian Java, a complex mix of flavors that speaks volumes about your refined tastes. And don't forget Betsy's Liberty Lullaby, our decaf option, crafted with the same care and dedication Betsy Ross put into our Star-Spangled Banner. This blend lets you enjoy the taste of freedom anytime without losing sleep. No woke beans here, folks. Just pure, patriotic, pro-freedom flavors brewed with love for liberty. So why compromise your principles for a cup of coffee? Stand up for your values, perk up your patriotism, and start your day the American way. Get your founding flavors at apforlibertyshop.com. Good morning, Rise and Freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com. We're glad to have you here. Did you like that coffee commercial? I think that you guys must enjoy it because I've been seeing the orders coming in for our new coffee brand, Founding Flavors Coffee, the most popular brand that people were ordering yesterday. Stephanie was really surprised about it, was the Dark Roast, which we have one brand. That's our Adams's Patriotic Perk. So I know you guys are like me. You like to get the coffee started in the morning, a nice dark roast with tons of caffeine. I'm the same way. So if you're interested, get yourself some Adams's Patriotic Perk over at the website, apforlibertyshop.com. It's available now. I think you're really going to love it. And I'm super excited to get into this new venture with you. I will share with you some of the negative reactions that I got yesterday, not just from people who are competitors in the coffee business, which yeah, I know there are a lot of people who sell coffee, right? But there's a lot of controversy surrounding Black Rifle Coffee and, a bunch of like influencers who apparently have like scam people or something like that. The grift is real, apparently. But then a lot of leftists were mad at us because we were like, don't buy woke coffee. So we'll have to talk about that later. But go woke, go broke is the topic for the next segment. Ben & Jerry's on the 4th of July decided to come out with a decidedly unpatriotic, for Americans anyway, view that we should return Mount Rushmore to the Lakota Sioux in North Dakota, South Dakota. I forget which Dakota it is. It's all the same Dakotas to me. But they have to eat their ice cream because now a Native American tribe has apparently demanded that Ben & Jerry's put up or shut up. We're going to feed them their own ice cream here and ask that Ben & Jerry's return the land that they stole from the Native Americans who live there. Joining me now to discuss is a man, well, whom we fought on 1776, but now we have a great relationship, a very special relationship with now. I guess he is an American now. Ian Howarth is joining us. He's a British Jewish man who lives in Nashville, Tennessee. Good morning, Ian. How are you, sir?
Good morning, Austin. The week after 4th of July to you.
Ian, I have to admit that last week I was walking down the street and I saw a British shop and it was all British goods and it was on the 4th of July and I had to boycott it for just that one day in spirit, in the spirit. But of course, we all love the British people now. Just very quickly, could you tell us, Ian, are you a naturalized citizen then? And what's your origin story here?
Yeah, so I moved over to work in tech in 2013. So I've been in the US for 10 years now. I'd say I'm more American than a lot of Americans. It's kind of funny though. It's sometimes I'm not American enough because people just hear the accent and assume I'm British. But then I go home and everyone thinks I'm, so American. Like, you have guns? What's wrong with you? Oh my God, you have free revolts. What's wrong with you? You have freedom to do what you want. What's wrong with you? So it's kind of funny. Sometimes I feel like I don't fit in both places, but happy to be on the winning team.
I know that feeling. I know that feeling, Ian, and we're glad to have you here. Thanks so much for joining us this morning, bright and early. I saw that you posted about this. It's just sweet, sweet revenge. There's so many great puns that we could play with this one, ice cream related puns on this, Ian, on Ben & Jerry's. But what's the story here?
I mean, it's just the classic virtue signaling of a woke corporation saying that, oh yeah, we should hand back our country to the people we stole it from, but not us, of course. Like so many of these people don't actually mean it. It's all about just virtue signaling to the left and then hoping they'll move on to something else. But the moment they actually get held up and held to account, nothing happens, of course, because they're obviously not going to hand over their corporate offices to anyone else. I don't even know who they'd hand it over to, because, of course, none of the people who were alive when this land was, you could say it was taken, of course, but hundreds of years ago, none of those people are alive. And so it's just this nonsense, and I love it when someone actually shines the light of day on it, rather than just this. Please buy our overpriced ice cream, and while we contribute to left-wing radical ideas, oh my goodness, we have to live in reality. Oh, we'd rather not. It's glorious, as you said, to watch when it happens.
Has there been any response from Ben and Jerry's to that, or are they just kind of like ignoring it, hoping it gets swept under the rug?
Not that I've seen. I'd be very surprised if they responded because there's no response. Well, what's the response going to be? Like, oh, we either we didn't mean it, so we're liars, or well, our land is different because we make ice cream on it. It's just they have no response here, and so I think though they're going to take advantage of obviously the news life cycle is so short that you can basically get away with anything. I mean, the Bidens have shown us that. You wait long enough, the media will move on, and of course the media is on Ben and Jerry's side because they're politically aligned. If this was one of the few right-wing ice cream companies that made this kind of statement, I'm sure their feet would be held to the fire a little bit. I don't see anything happening here.
I mean, hypocrisy is just sort of endemic to the left. I mean, if the left didn't have double standards, they would have no standards, right?
Of course, gotta have some.
If you're just tuning into the Wake Up America show, good morning. I'm Austin Peterson. We're glad to have you here, and thank you for tuning in. I'm speaking to Ian Howarth. He is a contributor to dozens of online magazines. He lives in Nashville, and he's joining us this morning on the phone. Go woke, go broke, right? We're talking about this in the context of Bud Light, right? Because Bud Light, I saw that Bud Light is no longer even in the top 10 of beers. Consumers can really show their power. I mean, that really is kind of like one of the probably the biggest story of the year in some respects, isn't it, Ian?
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is one of the first cases I've heard of really the entire customer base coming out and really putting their foot down. I think we've seen in recent years low-level boycotts, but I don't think conservatives have been such an overwhelming majority of the customer base as compared to the Bud Light situation. Conservatives are a massive, if not the majority, of the customer base of Bud Light. And when a company basically spits in their face by putting a man prancing around in makeup and a dress in any part of their marketing, it doesn't matter how significant or insignificant Bill Mulvaney was. He was a face of Bud Light. And they spat in the face of millions of Americans who just decided, you know what, I have many other choices of beer. And just to see the real financial but also image-based collapse of the company as a result, I think has given people a lot of hope. And it's reminded people that, one, there are millions of Americans out there who are conservative and their money is just as green as anyone else, and it's going to hold these companies to account. I think we've seen some changes, and Bud Light trying to backtrack, trying to be super patriotic as a result to try and undo it, hoping that Americans are stupid enough, which of course they're not, to forget what was done. But you're also going to see other companies pump the brakes. We saw it with Target, for example. They went a little bit too far over the line and they were pumping their brakes. The few Targets that are open in the United States, of course, that haven't been pulled out of urban areas. And so I think it shows real hope for the fight against woke indoctrination we see in the corporate world, and done really without doing anything other than just choosing where you put your money, which is such a fantastic way of affecting change.
Ian, I was having a conversation yesterday with Chase Oliver. He's a libertarian presidential candidate, someone whom I share a lot of views with, but when it comes to the role of government, but who I differ with when it comes to the culture wars. He's someone who says, I really think that, I don't want, I'm so anti-war, I don't even want to be involved or engaged with the culture wars. My view of that is a little different, right? That when war is declared on you, that you have to sort of return fire. Do you agree with me, Ian, that it is wise, not only wise for us, but prudent and almost deeply necessary for us to fight back in the culture wars, fight fire with fire in this way?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think there's many ways we can fight the culture war, right? We don't have to engage with it necessarily the way the left does. But I think to pretend the war is not happening when the war is in our communities right now, I think is naive and will be hugely damaging over time. And so if you decide that you actually have values that you want to see protected, then you have to be engaged, because otherwise the entire apparatus of the American institution system will just be taken over by the left if it hasn't been already. And so I think we have to be engaged. We obviously have to find ways to be engaged that align with values that we believe in. And so that's why I think actually deciding where your money goes and spending it wisely and spending it on companies that adhere to your values in any way, a very, very smart way of doing it. I think we have to, unless we want to see every single company be sucked into the void that it creates by dominating this area.
If you're just tuning into the Wake Up America show, good morning. I'm speaking to Ian Howarth. He came for the freedom in the United States, and he stayed for the free refills. Yeah, I guess they don't give free refills over in Europe. A lot of Americans don't know that, right, Ian?
Absolute tyranny. The first time I came to America and just they filled it without even asking. In England, not only do you have to pay for it, you have to ask for it. The first time someone refilled my glass, I didn't think I'd gotten halfway through it. It was amazing. It's like light shines through the clouds moment for me.
All right, I'd like to switch subjects if you don't mind, Ian. I saw a tweet that you posted yesterday surrounding the candidacy of Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Your tweet was this: like it or not, Robert Kennedy Jr. is a serious political candidate in the upcoming election. And you say, how is the removal of his interview with Jordan Peterson not election interference by YouTube? Can you explain?
Yeah, so obviously Robert Kennedy Jr. is, I'd say, not a rising star, but a pretty prominent candidate in the Democratic Party primaries. The entire establishment hates him because, he's a conspiracy theorist. I'm no fan at all. I think he said some very wrong things on various subjects, including vaccines. I think he said some abhorrent things comparing vaccines to the Holocaust, things like that. But like it or not, he's a political candidate. And he had an interview with Jordan Peterson, and I think they discussed vaccines to some extent. I haven't watched the interview. And YouTube banned it under their vaccine misinformation policy. And so you've got to ask, one, why is YouTube still doing this when we've seen over the last few years that vaccine misinformation means exactly whatever the people pushing the vaccine want it to mean, regardless of facts or reality? But also you've got to ask the fact, well, why is that not election interference when you have a major candidate who's polling in the double digits in many ways, arguably the greatest threat to Joe Biden on the Democratic side, and he's being squeezed out of the online conversation? If Joe Biden said something that wasn't true, which happens every day, would YouTube be banning him? I find that very unlikely. And so you've just got to look at this. It's not about Robert Kennedy Jr. I, again, do not like him. I do not agree with him. I don't think he's good for the political space. I think the hero worship on the right is going to be a massive mistake. Regardless, it doesn't matter. He's a political candidate. He's a real political candidate. Big tech doesn't have the right to censor him and then really control the election in the United States as a result.
Man, I totally agree with you, Ian. I love what you have to say, and I think our listeners absolutely would agree with you. But I'd love to hear from them. You can send us a text today on the show at 573-319-1586. If you have a question for Ian, you can send us a text again at 573-319-1586. I do have to say thank you to Quest Fanning for the super chat. We appreciate you very much. And it's nice to have. We appreciate that financial support. Our listeners today, it looks like John bought himself a bag of coffee this morning. Thank you, John. Appreciate all the support for our brand new coffee brand. Check that out at ap4libertyshop.com. Ian, in regards to where this election is going, it does appear as if, despite the protestations of a majority of the American people, we are going to see another election between Donald Trump and Joe Biden at this point. I don't think most Americans want this, but it's quite likely that that is where we are headed. What do you see as the outcome of that?
I see a repeat of 2020. I see Joe Biden winning. I think that's going to upset a lot of people. A lot of people, especially Trump fans out there, hate it when I say this. Donald Trump does not have a path to victory because he is not looking for one in many ways. I think he's looking for a repeat of 2020. He's not changing his strategy. He's not addressing the massive gaping holes in our defenses, like the fact, for example, that the left dominate ballot harvesting. They dominate a bunch of election strategies. And when asked about ballot harvesting, Donald Trump even said we didn't need it. And so we've got someone who doesn't think he lost, just going to play the same strategy. And I think people need to remember just so much of America hates Donald Trump for many bad reasons. I think in many ways, Donald Trump was a fantastic president. And of course, if he wins the primary, I would support him and vote for him. We need him in office, especially over Joe Biden. But I do not believe that he has a path to victory. So unfortunately, I think we'd see technically 4 more years of Joe Biden. He's obviously pretty unwell, pretty old. I think we would see someone replace him pretty soon after, whether that be Kamala Harris or Gavin Newsom. Gavin Newsom would be an unmitigated disaster. There's a reason people are flooding out of California. So if Donald Trump is the nominee, unfortunately, I think that means we're going to have a Democratic Party president in 2025.
So yeah, I don't know if my pocketbook can take it, man. I'm trying to run a business. I'm trying to be an entrepreneur. It's really hard out here trying to make money in the Biden economy. And the sad thing is that it's good for politics on the right, but it's bad for business.
Oh, well, absolutely. I mean, this is a criticism I've been making for several years now, is that the conservative, I'm going to say the conservative media space, because I think this is a very, very specific criticism. They almost need the left to be in power, because so much of this isn't about affecting change or pushing policy. It's about pointing to what the left is doing, making an angry face, and getting clicks. And so there's a cycle here that really rewards failure on the conservative side. And it's the same for a lot of conservative politicians. If you're looking at, say, Congress and the Senate, a lot of people run on the idea that they want to, say, end abortion. They've run on it for decades. They're going to run on supporting gun rights and protecting gun rights. They never actually do it, but they can always blame the Democrats. And it's just, oh, we need one more election, then we'll fix things. Give us your money again, then we'll fix things. And I think it's this cycle that I think many Americans become disenfranchised by and get tired by. And I think that's why you see people moving away from politics. And so I think we need an aggressive American right and independent and middle, just to say no to the radical left and to actually put in place policies that protect American values, rather than just always playing defense, always playing from behind, and always whining about losing. I'm done with losing, Austin. I don't know about you.
Same here. It's just sad that the only winning that is happening right now is on the Supreme Court, but God bless the Supreme Court, because without them, I don't know that we would have many victories these days. Ian Howarth, is there anything else that you'd like to share with our listeners before we let you go?
I just think try and stay sane in times like these. I think for the last couple of weeks, the political news and the way, for example, the Biden family can do quite literally anything that would put the average American in jail for the rest of their life. I think try and stay together, try and remember that American values are worth protecting, and let's all find ways that we can fight in favor of them.
American values from a British expat who loves the free refills. Great reason to move to the United States. Ian, we appreciate you very much. We look forward to having you back again on the show real soon, and hopefully on camera next time. So take care of yourself, and we look forward to talking to you soon.
Thanks as always for having me.
Thank you very much. That's Ian Howarth. What did you think? I think you did a great job. You can send us a text today. Let us know what you thought of Ian at 573-319-1586. Here's what I want from the right. I actually made this video myself yesterday, and I'm sharing it with you now, and we'll dissect in just a moment. Watch.
Excuse me, we'd like you to have this flower. Excuse me, sir, would you... Donation to the Reverend Moon? Jews for Jesus?
Read about Jehovah's Witness? How about Buddhism?
How's Jerry's kids? Oh, yeah. Scientology?
Or nuclear power?
Probably my favorite scene from a terrific movie, Airplane. If you're listening to the show later, you have no idea what just happened. This is the scene when the airplane pilot's character, I forget the actor's name off the top of my head, the guy from Unsolved Mysteries, you know what I'm talking about here? He walks into the airplane terminal, and he's depicted as the right guy preaching socialism, comes and joins him. He pushes him out of the way.
Excuse me, sir.
Here comes wokeism. He's like, get out of my way. Here comes Bidenomics. He punches him in the stomach. Goes away. The war in Ukraine, boom, kicks him away. The deep state, big tech.
How about Buddhism?
Kamala, now see, there's a lot of people probably missed there, but here's a random woman walking by, and Kamala Harris. Right there. Boom. We're coming for your children. affirmative action is it's the one African American guy there on the show. He got the affirmative action label.
Scientology?
Abortion,
Nuclear power?
gun control. There you go. That's the Wake Up America show for you. What do you think? If you're enjoying the show today, make sure you click like and subscribe to the channel. We'll be grateful to have your support today. All right, let me pull up the subscribe button. There it is. You hit that subscribe button if you're watching us on Rumble or on YouTube this morning. We're glad to have such a nice big audience as usual. Rumble just absolutely killing it this morning. And hey, thanks so much to John for buying a couple of bags of coffee from Founding Flavors. You can get our awesome coffee brand over there at apforlibertyshop.com. We're super grateful for you today for buying some of our coffee. But I do want to talk to you about my friend John Burke's CBD company. He's got a terrific line of products. And as a supporter of the show, I like to give him a big shout out and remind you that he has got a great deal going on. For those of you who love CBD and who are interested in Delta 8, I'd like to recommend to you my buddy John Burke's company, shellshockcbd.com. Now, here's the thing. I know a lot of you have been buying Shellshock CBD, but you forget to use your coupon codes. And then that way, John doesn't know that you're buying because of AP for Liberty, right? Which is no good. And then you miss out on the discount. So let me just remind you today, if you visit shellshockcbd.com, then you're going to get 10% off if you use my code AP4Liberty. And I know a lot of people are really skeptical about CBD, and so was I. But the reason why I recommend and endorse this product is because it does what it says, and you get a money-back guarantee if it doesn't do what I say it says. What say it does. Visit shellshockcbd.com today. Use my code AP4Liberty. The Delta 8 bars there have got 40 milligrams per serving. That's a lot of Delta 8. So I highly recommend for those of you who are looking to control your dosage, maybe you're a little older like I am, not as much in your party days, the bomb drops, any of the tinctures with Delta 8, those are a great way to control your dosage, right? Microdosing, have you heard of this concept? That's the way to go. Use the tinctures so that you can control your dosages for like small amounts. I also like the roll on, roll out CBD freeze roll on. It's like, Bengay in a way, right? But it's got CBD in it. Good stuff. Check it out at shellshockcbd.com. Use that code AP4Liberty. That's AP, the number 4, AP4Liberty, and you'll get that 10% discount code. And of course, we will have, we'll have love and support all day long. All right, what's next on the show? Well, we've got Camelia Peterson, who's going to be joining us here in just a few minutes. I'm looking forward to that. We're going to talk to her about the Jonah Hill controversy, as well as, working out. So working out apparently makes you right-wing. We're going to talk about that with Camelia. I'm excited about that. MSNBC op-ed slammed online for claiming that working out is linked to far-right politics, and says that exercising at home is just the latest fascist trend that glamorizes hypermasculinity. Hell yeah. I love it. Hypermasculinity. God bless hypermasculinity.
From now on, it's going to be America first, okay? America first.
Listen, I would show off my triceps on this show in a heartbeat. Trust me, I would. But the problem is that since I'm not wearing a t-shirt, I can't just kind of like show them off to you. But let's see if I can get an angle on here. I want to show you a little bit of what hypermasculinity looks like. There we go. You can kind of see them here, but it's like my sleeves are too tight. And the reason my sleeves are too tight is because I've been working out at home, working on my hypermasculinity. Now let's see if you can kind of see. Now they're not like Arnold Schwarzenegger arms, but they're pretty effing big. My triceps, however, are gigantic. Hold on, let's see if you can kind of see it. It's not so good with the light. Let's check it out here. Oh yeah, no, you can't really see. Hold on, let's see my triceps here. There we go. They're pretty effing big, and that's because I work out at home, and that apparently makes me hypermasculine, which makes me really want to work out more. Doesn't it make you want to work out when you see things like that? Well, according to MSNBC, this is the trend that glamorizes hypermasculinity. Cynthia Miller Idris, of course it's a chick. She's a researcher in extremism, which is like, what? A researcher in extremism. She claimed that white supremacists' latest scheme to valorize violence and hypermasculinity has gone digital. I love this. Cynthia Miller Idris, she's a professor, of course, at the School of Public Affairs and the School of Education at American University in Washington, D.C. It's like the most communist university in the United States. I've been there several times. I will never forget one time going to American University to try and recruit interns for the Libertarian Party, and there was this like really like sexy like professor lady who like walked up to me, and she had like, it was like a Norwegian or a Swedish accent. She was like this hot Swedish chick, and she like walks up to me, and I'll never forget, my friend Mark remembers this story, he was there with me, and she walks up to me in like the sexiest voice, but like very aggressive, like sexy aggressive socialist. She walks up to me, if that's a thing, and she's like sits down there like a teacher, like, you know, in one of those like fantasies, and she goes, "Don't you know that the free market has failed?" And it was just like, she wants to fight me. You know, it's just like she wants to fight, or some other F word. Anyways, I don't remember if I got into it with her or not. I didn't, like, you know what I mean, like get into it with her, if you know what I'm saying. Yeah, you know, not exactly. Anyways, it's another sordid tale of AP's conquests. We'll have to talk about stuff like that a little bit later. All right, I've got to go get Camellia Peterson. I don't want to go to commercial break, but the reason why I have to is because the tech stuff is, you know, you don't want to see it happening on the screen, right? It's all dirty and clunky, and you got to do little tests and all this kind of crap. That's why we have a curtain, right? We have commercials. We play the commercials, so you have something interesting to watch, right? Maybe it convinces you to go to my website, buy some of my delicious coffee, like my buddy John did. Give it up to John today, this morning. Buy some delicious coffee from us. I'm going to go eat Camellia Peterson. We're going to talk about this hyper-masculine trend and the attempted demolition of Jonah Hill when we get back on the Wake Up America show at wakeupamericashow.com.
Want an engaging website to boost your business? You're just a click away from 5-star Fiverr talent. Hundreds of freelancer skills like web design. Head to Fiverr.com today and get something started.
American conservatism is distinct, like America is distinct from the United Kingdom. American conservatism's roots comes out of the Wild West, out of pioneerism. The difference between American conservatives and European conservatives is that Americans are cowboys. We are that God, guns, gold, and girls. It's wild here, and we should stay that way. We shouldn't allow a European version of conservatism to come and infect us here. We like it wide open spaces here, you know, deep in the heart of Texas and all that.
Hey there, it's your favorite Vice President Joe Biden. I wanted to talk to you today about the Wake Up America show, the best source for all your political news and commentary. But before I get started, let me just make sure I have all my notes in order. Okay, where was I? All right, the Wake Up America show. It's a great way to stay informed and make your voice heard. Boy, what was I saying again? Oh, right. The Wake Up America show. It's important that we all stay engaged and knowledgeable about what's going on in our country and, you know, the thing. But hold on, where was I going with all this? Oh, yeah. The Wake Up America show. It's a fantastic resource. And if you really want to make a difference, man, you can sign up to be a monthly donor at wakeupamericashow.com/support. Now, where was I? Oh, that's right, the Wake Up America show. So if you want to stay woke and support a great cause, head on over to wakeupamericashow.com/support and sign up to be a monthly donor today. And if you're feeling generous, you can even give a donation in my name. Thanks for listening, and keep on keeping on, America. Come on, man.
Hello, I'm George. Thank you for watching the Wake Up America show with my dad. Today, I'd like to share with you 3 reasons why you should visit Dad's online store at apforlibertyshop.com. Number 1, you can get exclusive freedom-loving merch designed by AP himself or me mum, Steffi. Liberty Laura has made some designs as well, and blimey, they are great. Number 2, most of these products are so wicked that they aren't even allowed to be advertised on Facebook or Instagram. Modern machine guns and a proper keychain. Plus, our Grover Cleveland t-shirt is so spicy apparently that leftists on Facebook specifically banned it from appearing on the website. Number 3, you're supporting liberty lovers just like you. Spend your money where you earn it, and you help me Pops build a community that supports what you believe. Bloody hell, this commercial is running too long. Gotta run. Bye now. Don't forget to visit apforlibertyshop.com. That's apforlibertyshop.com.
Good morning, Rise and Freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com. Excuse me, got the burps. Glad to have you here on the show. If you're enjoying the content that you're watching this morning, not that burp, but the other stuff, make sure you click that like button. If you're watching us on Rumble right now, it's awesome to see such a big audience over on Rumble. We love to see it. And we hope that it translates into likes and subscribers. I have to ask, or else it doesn't happen. Our friends Grixis, One Patriot Listener 1, The Onion Dip, Kermode Bear, Nelson65, Katie556, and all the others have been joining us regularly over on there. Why don't you join us? Say hi in the comment section. Introduce yourself. Become one of our regulars. We'd love to have you join us in the mornings. Speaking of regulars, my next guest joins us every Tuesday and Thursday at 8 a.m. Central Time. She is a regular because she's so damn good. She keeps regular because she drinks Founding Flavors coffee. Well, not yet. That's Camellia Peterson joining us on camera right now. How you doing, CJ?
I'm doing good. I work out.
You work out. I have to say, my response to that MSNBC article claiming that working out at home is linked to far-right extremism, I was like, man, they couldn't. It's like, it makes you think maybe there is a God, right? Because the comedy is just too good. It's too perfect. It made me want to go work out. What about you?
Right. Well, I read through that article and I was like, I really feel a lot stupider after having read that.
Only a professor could be that stupid.
And it's like, I don't know if this passes as journalism or if it even passes as an op-ed. I'm not sure what this is anymore, but boy, it was a workout to have to stretch to reach to some of those points, is what I'm telling you here.
Where does this come from, though? I mean, let's just get right into the nitty-gritty here. Why write a piece like this, Camellia?
I think that they are grasping at straws, and I think that they are finding, they've got to find something to use to villainize the other side. And, Trump is Trump. I think kind of Trump is like he's kind of waning, if that makes sense. You know what I'm saying? It's not as hot as it was before.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Yeah, it is just, Fuentes is popping up and there's some of these things. So I think they're looking because they're constantly trying to, what's the Patriot Front group and some of those others, they're looking for these groups that, white supremacist groups, and they're looking to see how they can elevate them to make them a bigger deal than they really are, because they've got to have a boogeyman to focus on.
They do. And I think that's a really good point here, is that it used to be that Donald Trump was the absolute center of all of our worlds. And for the left-wing media, that meant clicks and money. So they really need another boogeyman, right? So it's always this right-wing extremism, the rise of white supremacy and things like that. But like specifically when they're saying related to working out at home, right? They weren't talking about people going to the gym or anything like that. And they're linking it with a hyper masculinity. I mean, as if, working out and being exercising and being masculine is a negative thing. I mean, I know that they really see it that way, but why do you think they see it that way? Why is that a threat to them, Camellia?
Well, I do think that, anything that conveys physical strength I think is something that they feel that is threatening, even though they do literal violence when they protest and all of these other things. But it is interesting that really one of the first things she starts talking about was Hitler. And in Mein Kampf, fixating on boxing and jujitsu. So now all of a sudden, of course, everything is always literally Hitler. Now, I maybe I have missed something here, but why is far right Nazism? Like, why are those equated?
It's a trope that the left has engaged in for years. I mean, depending on how you see the political spectrum, you just say everything is far right, right? If you're not, I liked that a meme that I saw of the political spectrum where it's the square, and in the top far left hand corner you have the left or like good people, and then still in the communist section, but just a little bit to the right is the alt right, and then everybody else in that spectrum is Nazi. They really do see it that way. If you're not with us, you're against us. I mean, there was some guest that I had on my show recently. Oh, I think it was like ultra gay biker dad, or maybe it
Hmm.
was, or maybe I was talking to Wood. Yeah, I was talking to Wood Hippie the other day. We actually got to meet him in person. Remind me to tell you that story lately.
Okay.
And he was talking about how he used to be, vote Democrat, and now he finds himself a right wing Republican. I mean, the left is like actively pushing as many people as they can over into our camp, which good for us, but it reminds me a little bit of like not a true libertarian in that sense, right? They kind of like the Democrats are making the mistakes of the libertarians.
Right. Well, and I think, I was just thinking there was the other day, there was a clip that was going around from an MMA guy who was, saying some, really conservative right-wing things.
Mm.
And I think that maybe there does tend to be more of that tendency in, physical sports or combat sports. I don't know. And I don't know why that is. I can tell you that one of my favorite Instagram accounts that came up in my suggestions here a few weeks ago is called the Emotional Support Viking, and I was fascinated because it's this big Viking looking dude, really buff and everything, and basically he's he's a coach for women, and his target is single mothers and divorced women or whatever. But he's there. What fascinated me is he is definitely very much on the right, and he's funny when he does his videos. Gives good advice, and was knocking on Joe Biden in one that was like, okay, I'm listening now. But yeah, so I think that they do see some of those trends in people who are into fitness, and I don't know why, because she does say in here is like, we know that fitness is something that everybody can benefit and get into, but like if you're really hardcore, you're far right.
If you're just tuning in to Wake Up America show, we're glad to have you here. You can text us today at 573-319-1586. Camellia, this is a little bit of breaking news, and this is something that really is just for you and me for the most part, because I don't think the audience is going to really get this. But you know
Okay.
that troll group that attacks you all the time online, Local Control Missouri?
Yes.
So they're out. So they're now attacking me, I guess, for being affiliated with you. And I mean, these are like, Missouri is like the meth capital. These people are definitely on it. So I tweeted this morning, asking the question: are you buying coffee from people that hate you? Right? Because I'm talking about, Black Rifle Coffee and how they called Kyle Rittenhouse supporters racists, and of course, Starbucks donates to every woke cause there is. So I said, my campaign is stop buying coffee from people who hate you, buy coffee from me at Founding Flavors. And so Local Control Missouri retweeted this apparently an hour ago, saying, I'm not buying from a Koch brother lover who activity works against a constitutional republic and sponsors extreme left propaganda at South by Southwest Education Conference with sessions for
Oh
Drag Time
Lord.
Story Hour and works with Waltons. Nope. What the hell? Who are these people?
I know who they are, and I'm
Yeah.
not telling anybody. I am not saying their name and giving them oxygen, but yeah, it's like, it's typical troll. They got to have the same tired old talking points and do the gymnastics, and do the workout to try to, 6 degrees of, Kevin Bacon conspiracies, to connect all these things. So yeah, I am a globalist, dark money, enthusiast. What can I say?
These people are so retarded. Oh my god, it's hilarious. They can't even spell actively. It's they spell activity. Anyways,
I,
I'm
yes, well, and that's somebody that's in education, and that's
of
sad.
course they are. Of course they are. That's why our, is our children learning. Camellia Peterson, we're glad to have you here on the show. This whole push against, hypermasculinity and working out from home, it smells to me of big vagina. And when I say that, I mean, we're talking about big vagina energy here, where it's this real desire, this push from postmodern feminism and the active far left Marxist feminists who they really despise men. They hate men, kill all men, right? It's not even like the rage-filled sort of bra-burning feminism of the 1960s, right? Which you could say, okay, have a point. You want to go braless, that's your point, right? But these people actively despise men. And that's where I think a lot of the transgender activism comes from, right? They want to cut off little boys' wing wangs because they despise them, or they're secretly jealous or envious of them or of us, and the power that men have as a natural result of our sex, of our gender. They want to be us, and they can't be us, right? And they'll never be like us. And so there's a lot of like that. What do you call that? Freudian sort of desire. What do they call that? Penis envy is what he called it.
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
there's a lot of that. And
yeah.
that's and I think too, and this is how I'll segue to the Jonah Hill topic. Did you listen earlier when I was talking about what I thought really triggered people about what Jonah Hill was saying? Not that he necessarily had boundaries at all, but specifically that one of his boundaries was that he wanted his girlfriend to stay away from women who are in unstable places. Do you agree
Right.
with me?
Well, yes, and I will say too that what you were saying as far as, why the motivation behind why they're doing this, I do think this is also in response to the backlash that they are starting to see with, men are pushing back, and not just men, but, some women as well, against this assault on masculinity. And so there is pushback now, and I think they see that, and anything that smacks of masculine strength, they want to feminize men. And also this ties into this body positivity thing, because things like this are a threat to body positivity. And so I really do think that that is probably a big part of it. And I think that, with some of those boundaries that Jonah Hill was talking about, those are, a lot of the talking points you hear as part of this pushback. And right, that idea that stable friends. I mean, the fact that you even have to say that, I don't get it.
Right.
I know that I'm kind of hard on my own gender sometimes, a lot of the times. Maybe that's why.
Well, for sure, but I mean, there is, if there's a mental health crisis in this country, there might be, I guess I'll just say the word. There is a suicide problem with men in
Yeah.
this country. Women attempt suicide more. Men succeed at it more, right? But attempting it in itself would imply some instability, right? If women are attempting it more, then that might imply that women are really losing their nut these days, Camellia. I advise, a lot of times young men will ask me for relationship or dating advice or things like that because, they see that I'm in a happy, stable, fulfilling relationship. And they're like, how do I have something like this? And I tell men, don't chase women. And Camellia, you've known me for like 3 or 4 years now to know that, like, really, I never did, even before I settled down and changed, my attitude and my behaviors towards things like marriage or things like that. It's not a good idea for men to chase women because, one, there's danger involved, and two, women aren't interested in men that are interested in them. Am I wrong?
I'm a little I'll be honest, I'm a little conflicted on this, and mostly because this is a cultural thing. It's what has been the cultural norm, that has been accepted for a long time, is that it's the role of men to
Mhm.
pursue women. Um, but yes, I mean, this day and age where I don't, Jonah Hill, I think, somewhat walked into his situation in that he pursued her from, there's like a whole bunch of other texts that I've seen now that she's been putting out and things. And he initially pursued her because of what he saw on her Instagram. So he was seeing all of the things that other men were seeing. But when they got into a relationship, he expected that behavior to stop. And that's probably unrealistic. I mean, if she was going to stop that kind of behavior that attracted him in the first place, she probably would have done it on her own, out of her investment in their relationship. But that was not her.
But here's the thing, was it unrealistic when I decided to get married, was it unrealistic to ask me to stop whoring around? You know what I mean? Like, was it unrealistic to ask me to stop going around and being the bon vivant that I was, right? In that sense, it wasn't unrealistic. The point of this whole conversation, I think, is that it's okay for women to have standards and to set boundaries for men, but it doesn't exist. That's a one-way street in modern society.
Right.
Am I wrong?
Hmm. No, I think that that's correct. And I do think that, he was right to come out and verbalize his boundaries. It sounded like, and from some of the other texts that she kept putting out, with the fact that she timed this the way she did, and this, like, that's, she's got some FOMO going on there, some regret. She's missing out, and
He
now
just had
she's
a
trying to
baby,
last.
so she's probably
Yes,
really feeling like her
right.
eggs are like, "Ee, that could have been me."
So yeah, I mean, she's um there were a lot of things that, she was talking about how she was just nerdy, innocent, idiot, whatever. Like she said, she's like trying to play the dumb card,
Mhm.
and he's spelling it out. But, they're also in those other texts, like there obviously had been things going on that were emotionally hurtful. There had been issues already. They obviously had already talked about these things, and he probably had finally just reached the point to where, like, look, here in black and white, here are my expectations. And she was like, is this a test? Well, maybe so. Probably rightfully so. So, I
Right.
mean, the thing is like, I saw this thing the other day, and this is where I don't blame a lot of men for being very slow to get into relationships and for being jaded about this right now. Because I saw something the other day talked about two different kinds of courage. There's a kind of courage where you run out to battle and whatever, and you're fighting, and that's one kind of courage. And the other kind of courage is vulnerability. And when you decide to, open yourself up to someone, that takes a huge amount of courage, and it's risk taking. So it's you really expose yourself and take that risk in doing that, putting that much trust into someone else. And so I think it's normal that he was hurt in that, because she didn't. She obviously was not invested enough in him to just change her behavior on her own. So, he was trying to set that and say, look, here's my line.
Right, but I mean, women are trying to act, in attacking Jonah Hill as if, it's unrealistic to expect someone to change once they get into a serious relationship. I mean, if a man starts saying things like that to you, I would think a woman would be excited because they would say, "Oh, wow, this guy actually is trying to set me up for a real serious for a real serious relationship." And that's the hardest thing for a woman to achieve, right? Women control access to sex and men control access to relationships. So when a man signals in such a way that he's asking for boundaries, he's signaling that he's ready to take this relationship to the next level. You would think that a woman would be excited by this, but instead they demand, no, no, I want to have unfettered capability. I want unfettered access to alone time with other men and unfettered access to time spent with unstable women. So what she's really saying there is that she doesn't really want to be in a relationship to a man.
Right.
Am I wrong?
No, I think that's absolutely right. She is definitely not on his level. She was nowhere. She was, when in their conversations when they talked about surf culture, I don't know exactly what that means, but obviously there were things that were chalked up to that were problematic. However, whatever that meant for her relationship with men who were in those circles. So um, she was not ready to give up the freedom and validation that she was getting from other places. So yeah, I mean, I think, by the time you reach that point in a relationship with somebody, it's hard to, I mean, it's not that it's just easy to walk away, but when he puts those kind of, ultimatums, so to speak, out there, and he points out those harsh realities about the people around her, I mean, I know you could say that women would take that as a signal that, oh, he really, he loves me, he wants to settle down, whatever. But I think most people are going to get defensive and take it personally because it is a judgment on their own character and their own choices.
Perhaps. I think that everybody wants to have their cake and eat it too. Wouldn't it be nice, right? The double standards oftentimes exist for a reason. When you have situations like these, she was never going to be treated the same way in the media that Jonah Hill was. But there's some lessons for men, I think, to learn from this. One is that I would say you can't put things like this in writing in forms of text, right? This is a good example of never to
Yeah.
really put, you shouldn't put your thoughts down in writing, text messages and things like that, because you never, especially sensitive things like this. And then I would say, well, alternatively, what you should do is you should say them to the person out loud, right? But they, even then, still, if you do that over the phone, they can record you. So, unfortunately, if you want to have these kinds of conversations, you should probably, as a man, have these conversations alone in private, not over the phone, directly to the person, in order to protect yourself. Because unfortunately, even if you think you can trust someone, people really do show their true colors with this. And if you're a celebrity or something like that, there's too much incentive for people to try and screw you over. So, can I ask you though, just briefly though, Camelia, because I've got you for a couple more minutes. You were talking earlier, responding to what I was saying about like how men shouldn't chase women. It used to be in the 1950s. You found a cute girl, you took her to the dance, right? You asked her, "Do you want to go to the prom with me?" and all that kind of stuff. But can you see why now I think it's a better idea, and possibly understand why I would advise men not to chase women, why it's a better idea for them not to spend their time on dating apps or doing things like trying to go out there and trying to snag a female? Could you understand like my reasoning behind that?
I can understand the reasoning. I don't know, if that's going to be the approach. I don't know realistically. I mean, that narrows men's options down a lot, if we're being honest. I
Which is a good thing. Which is a good thing, right? Because, if you think about it, I mean, the best relationships that I've always had have been ones where I was pursued versus pursuing. Because what the psychology of this is, we're talking about and a large amount of unstable females here. The psychology of this here is that when you pursue a female, typically what happens is that they don't think that a man that is pursuing them is worthy of their time or their energy, because other what if he's got time to spend texting you, calling you, asking, trying to court you and all that stuff, he's not doing the things that will make him attractive to you. Working out at home, becoming a far right wing white supremacist, right? Working out, getting, doing his hustle, doing all the things that make him attractive, building himself up. That's really what I'm trying to say here, is that if it narrows down his options, so be it, right? There's a large
Right.
pool of mentally unstable, big vagina energy out there that you don't want to have anything to do with anyway. But if you want to find that one good right one as a man and really have a good, healthy, stable relationship, um, don't spend your time chasing women. Make them chase you, right? The minute you stop
So
chasing something, it's like a bird. Um, if you chase a bird, it's never going to come to you. You'll never catch it. But if you put bird seed out in your hand and you sit there and wait, what happens? The bird will come to you.
I haven't really, I guess had not really thought it through in this way before, as far as that concept. But I do think that, men not chasing women, if women are always pursued, that there's also that sets a level of expectation there in how much they have to invest in a relationship.
Yes.
And so I can see that, because if it's one way and it's always, the man coming to the woman, that's not realistic. In just in terms of how men and women function in general, because if men don't feel the need to be in constant contact relationally or to talk all of the time, and that's okay. But I think that, for women, maybe this is a lesson in managing expectations, because perhaps the men always pursuing women in that like courtship phase or whatever of a relationship sets unrealistic expectations for real life.
Yeah, if the thing is, it's like that Ashley St. Clair conversation we were having last week. Men, our behavior can shape women's behavior. And so what you're saying there is that, women in being chased and pursued and simped for, right? Simping and stuff like that, it sets their expectations very, very high for what kind of a man they want in their life. Or sometimes they call this relationship in the red pill world, they call it an alpha widow. Have you ever heard of this concept?
I'm not sure.
This is a woman who has had access to an alpha male, had a relationship with an alpha male, and they then once they lose access to that alpha male, the bar has now been set for their standards of expectations in a relationship. And then at that point in time, they realize, oh my God, I'm never going to be able to meet that kind of a standard again. If I want to have a relationship with someone, I have to settle, if you will. And there's nothing that will drive the big vagina energy more insane than telling them that maybe you should consider lowering your expectations or your standards if you don't desire to be a cat lady.
I have a question for you. Now you're going to offend people by calling me a cat lady. No, I do have a question though. So when you talk about double standards, and I know that there are inevitable double standards no matter what, we talk about, but when you talk about double standards, would it have been okay in the Jonah Hill situation for something like that to have been if the roles were reversed?
Well, you mean like what she's as setting standards and
I'm just saying,
expectations?
like, if it was, yes, if it was a
Camellia,
woman
you
who was
don't know what
saying,
it's
look,
like to
these
be a
are,
man. Like that is like here's the first boundary that gets set is always set by the woman, and it always starts with one question. Here it is. So, like, what are we?
oh gosh.
Thus it begins. So yeah, of course. You realize as a man that when you put yourself into a relationship with one woman, you're giving up all of your desires, your biological innate desires to go and be with as many women as possible, right? Because you know that having a lot of women around is not good for her, and it's not something that she wants. She has standards and expectations that start pretty much on day one, right? She may be pretending that, oh, we're just having fun, we're just dating, it's casual or whatever, it's a situationship. But in the back of her mind, if she thinks that you're, a certain type of material, then she, very soon you're going to get that question. So like, what are we? So yeah, I think roles reversed, it pretty much, yeah, it's pretty common. I mean, it's a double standard there.
Do you think that men just automatically do that, or how would a man respond? Like, if they had to be asked to do those things, I guess is my point.
Oh, what, to stop posting thirst traps on Instagram or something like that? I don't think it exists. I think it doesn't work that way because a woman wants a man who is desired. A man has to, a man who doesn't want to feel like he constantly has to fight to keep his woman because he's so busy doing all that other stuff. He wants to keep a woman in his corner. But a woman wants a man who is hotly pursued. A woman, they like that. Like when a girl sees that other women are lusting after their man, that's what they want. They want that status symbol. They like that. If girls are popping into my DMs, I show that to my wife, right? I show that because I know for a fact that she gets off on that, right? That's a woman's kink, right? When you've got a man that was constantly pursued, that's called social proof, right? And so if you've got a husband or a boyfriend or whatever, a lover or something like that, and he's constantly being pursued by women, and he's posting thirst traps and girls are coming after him, so that as long as he's being transparent and showing, not cheating or
Right.
screwing around on you, and he's being faithful, I think a woman loves that, right? There's nothing a woman loves more than a man who is desired by her peers, because there's nothing a woman wants more than to upstage all of her female colleagues and to put them in their place.
Oh boy. Well, I think we all have a lot of room to grow.
Camelia Peterson, thank you very much for your time today. I got to run. I'm running late. I got to get John Miltimore in here to talk about why it's not okay to be a white person in public. Okay.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, thank you and have a great day, everybody.
Thanks, you too. Bye, CJ. We'll be back in just a few minutes with John Miltimore on the Wake Up America show at wakeupamericashow.com. Thank you. It was 1946. A battle was fought, not overseas, but right here on American soil. The Battle of Athens, an intense struggle against election fraud and for the rights promised by our founding fathers. Driven by the Second Amendment, ordinary citizens stood tall and fought back. Help us expose this momentous battle of integrity and bravery. Your support can make a difference. Visit givesendgo.com/bleedamerican and pledge your support, because we believe in the power of truth, the strength of unity, and the spirit of we the people. Let us not forget, we bleed American.
Fire.
Hello, this is Barack Obama, and let me tell you why Austin Peterson stinks, and you should never pay attention to anything that he has to say. First of all, he's a libertarian, and we all know libertarians are idiots. They don't realize how important government is to everything that we do. I recently became aware that Austin has opened up a libertarian shop at apforlibertyshop.com. Now, I'm asking you as a personal favor to me that you never ever visit apforlibertyshop.com. With all of the great Liberty merchandise there, the last thing that we need to do is to get people spreading this message around the country, because then they might start thinking that they don't need government. And that's the last thing that good Democrats like us want. So if you love democracy, like me, and hate freedom, then don't visit AP for Liberty Shop. Like I said, whatever you do, do not visit apforlibertyshop.com. I'm Barack Obama, and I approve this message.
When I was in foster care, I never knew when I would have to move, so I always had my suitcase ready to go. Then one day, I was adopted. My new parents opened their hearts and home to me. My parents cook my favorite breakfast for me every morning. My parents take me on trips I never thought I would go on. They gave me a home and an even better reason to use that suitcase. My parents aren't perfect, but they're perfect for me.
I would remind you that extremism in the defense of liberty is no vice.
It is better to settle these matters in the courts than on the streets, and new laws are needed at every level. But law alone cannot make men see right.
Good morning, Rise and Freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com. How have you been enjoying this show so far today? Wow. Dang. Studio audience really loves it, but I can't hear the live stream audiences this morning. I don't know how you feel. I guess really there's only one way for you to let us know if you're liking the content. That's click that like button and subscribe to the channel if you're enjoying what you're seeing. The Wake Up America show every Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Central. 2-hour show. It's not just a live stream because you could do just a live stream. I mean, we're talking about guests. We get named guests. We get great content brought to you 5 days a week. Get your day started, not only with our Wake Up America show, with our brand new debut of our Founding Flavors coffee brand. Are you buying coffee from people who hate you? Yeah. You go to the Starbucks, we'll call them woke bucks. You go to the coffee shop and they take the money that you give them and they use it against you. They use it to fight against the values that you stand for, economic freedom and personal liberty. You don't have to do that. Why would you compromise your values for a cup of coffee? It makes no sense. Visit my website and buy Founding Flavors coffee from me, and I will use the profits that I make to spend on causes that you believe and you stand up for. If you buy a cup of Washington's Revolutionary Roast from me, you're buying a revolution in a cup, not just in metaphor, but in reality. Literally. We literally use the word literally. You can text the show today at 573-319-1586. That's 573-319-1586. All right, well, what is this picture that I got up on the screen right now? You can't see if you're listening to us on the podcast later, but if you're watching us live or watching the video replay, then you can see this is a serious question that J, quote, affirmative action hack Perkins has for all white people. If you're white and you're listening to the show, then I suggest you tune in, perk up your ears. Serious question for well-meaning white people, he asks. Are you well-meaning white people? Okay, well, if you mean well. He says, when you show up at a get-together like this, do you notice that there are 0 black people or nah? He capitalizes black people, which is a very odd thing. If so, do you say anything about it? To who? Please be honest. This is a safe space unless you say something dumb or racist. Okay. Well, the Wake Up America show is not a safe space, so I bring people on who have dangerous ideas and are willing to express them. John Miltimore is the managing editor of the Foundation for Economic Education, and he is white as the driven snow. John, I hope you are well-meaning. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, morning, AP. Yeah, I'm well-meaning, and I'm way too white, I guess.
Yes. Can I ask you a question, John?
Of course.
Have you ever sat down to a dinner with your friends and looked around and said, "Wow, they're all white people"?
I have not. And you know what? I did pose this question in response. I don't think black people do that either, right? They don't look around the table and say, gosh, we're way too black here. We need to bring in a white person or an Asian person. It's not a natural thing to do. It's a silly thing.
What do you think his motive is here, John, in asking this question?
I would say it's engagement, right? Like, like if you look, he's probably got more engagement on that post than he's ever had before. It's kind of a way of just trolling people, getting attention. Like I think if you were having a conversation with him, he probably wouldn't even, make that claim. It's pretty silly. It did make me think of something, Shelby Steele, the Harvard, Stanford scholar. He's a fellow at the Hoover Institute. He wrote a book called White Guilt years ago, and he said it's the fastest way to strip someone of their moral power, right? Like you immediately put them on defense when you accuse them of racism. So I think that's what we're seeing over and over and over today. And it is. I don't think we talk enough. Like the intersectionality has been a triumph for the neo-Marxists. We actually they changed the way we perceive the world. We now perceive the world through these lenses of power structures, whether it's race or class or gender. That is how Americans see the world today. And we didn't see it like that for a long time. There was obviously racial issues in this country. There was a lot of, there was racial tension. We don't need to go over that whole history. And there was institutions, and systemic racism was real. Like it was, in America for a long time, at least in parts of the country. But we didn't see race, gender, class everywhere we go. And now we do, and I think it's for the worse. I think it's really a divisive way in a very toxic way to view the world.
So if let's say he did it just for attention, okay, fine. But why does that garner so much attention? I mean, why do people engage with that so much? Why is that something that animates people, would you say?
Well, I think most of the people I saw were kind of making fun with it, and it was fun. I saw one, account that followed me. It was funny, like you see stuff like this, you don't even realize, like, oh, it's a follower, and it was a big account, but it's a troll account itself. Okay, it's called like Molly Bryden, and it's a picture of Hunter Biden in a girl's outfit, and it's all about like kind of making fun of like progressive causes. And it was doing this in parody, like how is this still alive in America today? And somebody's like, I don't get it. What are you talking about? And the response was, seriously, and it was all exclamation points. People were just kind of having fun and just pointing out how silly it was. I think that's where most of the engagement was that I saw yesterday. I don't think there were some people in comments that take those things seriously. But think about it. How many people do you actually know interact with that apply this stuff to their daily lives like this? Like, oh, we need to actually have DEI initiatives to make sure that when we go to dinner that we have enough diversity. It would be an awful way to, this is why it bothers me. It is the opposite of individualism, which so we just treat people as people, right? People are people. Stop trying to divide us, and highlight differences, whether sexual preference or race or gender. Once we just acknowledge that all people are humans, we all have worth and value. That's the right starting point. And critics are right. When America was started, we didn't have that yet. It was a long fight to get that. But now again, the pendulum has swung, and we're kind of making those same mistakes, trying to divide ourselves along racial lines and gender lines and things like that. It's just an awful way to see the world.
If you're just tuning into the Wake Up America show, good morning. I'm speaking to John Miltimore. He's the managing editor of the Foundation for Economic Education. I am Austin Peterson. We're glad to have you here. Make sure you click the like button and subscribe to the channel that you're watching us on right now. It's nice to see we've been getting regular big audiences in the morning. We are typically averaging around 100 people simultaneously viewing the program, which is a milestone for us. Yesterday was actually the most watched show simultaneously in Wake Up America show history, coming up on our 1-year anniversary, which we're super excited about. So thank you for being a part of that. John Miltimore has become a regular weekly guest on the Wake Up America show, and we certainly appreciate his contributions. Right now, we're talking to him about a picture that was shown yesterday where half white, half black activist was asking white people how they feel when they sit down at events that don't contain any people of color. Well, the question that I had to ask for him about this one, John, and this is an uncomfortable question specifically for the right and the left, and I wonder if you have an answer for it. I'm sorry to pose such a triggering question to you, John, but I wonder how you would react.
That's why I'm here.
Yeah, I wonder how you would react to this. And I asked him this question is, do they consider Jews to be white?
Like that's a good question. I imagine different people answer that question differently. I bet you if he was answering, I don't think he would or I think he would say they were white. Yeah.
Which is fascinating because white supremacists would absolutely say that they are not white, right?
Yeah, no, 100%. Yeah, like there's all kinds of there's a spectrum to this, right? Like like there's the whole Aryan, Germany got obsessed with the whole racial purity thing. But if you can even look at the 19th century, it was the same way. Like again, this is the pendulum where it swung. One drop of African blood made you black. And it's a sad thing that humans put so much emphasis on this stuff. Like I don't. It always bothered me, kind of as a Christian. Maybe I'm not going to get on the podium and say like I never had a racist instinct in my body or anything like that. I think there are parts of human nature that kind of draw those uglier feelings out. But as a Christian, it was interesting. Like this is part of Scripture, like where Jesus is like, no, the whole Gentile and Jew thing needs like he was getting rid of that. He was destroying that. And I think that even at the time, that caused a lot of problems for Jesus and his disciples. I don't think all of them didn't fully understand that. But to me, that was the message of the gospel. Like we're all people, we're all God's children, and that's a beautiful message. And it's the opposite of what we're getting everywhere today. And like I think it makes society uglier for it.
But it is fascinating though, because if you think about his psychology there, is what he's really trying to do is try and bait white supremacists, right? So he's trying to get people who he considers to be Nazis to be triggered by a photo of people who are all white. But if you look at the people who are at that table, many of them are quite obviously Jewish. And so white supremacists would sit there and look at that table of people and go, well, this table is too diverse for me.
It's a great
There's
point.
too much diversity in those group of people. They're not all white.
Not to go off on a tangent, but did you see the Moms for Liberty, flap that was going on?
A little
It
bit, but I
started
didn't read it too
before.
much into it. What was the story here?
Well, I'm sure you saw it a couple weeks ago. Like the Moms for Liberty, somewhere on their website, they had a Hitler quote, like saying like, "Oh, the goal is to control the children," and they quoted Hitler to say like, "This is what they're trying to do for your kids." Well, people didn't, like some people leftists wanted to make it look like they're quoting Hitler favorably. The AP did a story and said no, like that's not that wasn't their intention. They've disavowed it and they've made it clear. Well, it just kind of resurfaced again during a conference, and Caitlin Flanagan, who's a writer at the Atlantic, and I've liked Caitlin's writing for years. I think she's a talented journalist, but she kind of used this speech where I think it was the president of Moms for Liberty got up and said, I stood by that mother who put that out there, even though she was raked across the coals. And again, wasn't quoting Hitler favorably. Like they're trying to make a point like the leftists want your kids, right? Which is really an issue for Moms for Liberty. And Caitlin was one of the people that swallowed that and said, "Oh, Moms for Liberty stand with Hitler." And like all of this, like we're seeing Nazis and stuff and white supremacy in the shadows everywhere. And so much of it is just to me it's madness. Like I'm like, what are you seeing? I'm sure you saw it a couple of years ago when everybody was seeing like they do like the little thing like that, and like somebody saying okay, and they're like, oh, it's white. They're showing white power out there, and everyone. Somebody's going to screenshot me probably now and try to make it look like I was saying that. We're seeing this stuff everywhere where people, you can find pictures of Biden and Hillary Clinton and Obama doing the same thing, like they're just giving this or something like that. But people, there's a paranoia about it. But I think it goes back to what Shelby Steele was saying. It gives the person making the accusation all this moral power, and it strips it of someone else. They don't have to be anywhere close to a white supremacist, but they're terrified of the accusation, and it's a great way to keep people quiet, and it's a great way to keep people in line.
Yeah, I posted this chart this morning because that same gentleman, who now, of course, is going to pop up in my feed every day, tweeted this over and over and over again. I don't see race, quote, is anti-black. So he's saying, I don't see race as anti-black. And he's posting that over and over and over again. So he's saying that, if a white person says, I don't see race, he says that's anti-black. So I posted a chart, and I'm going to actually, I'll tell you what, just for gigs, I'm going to pull it up here on the screen. Hold on just one second, John, if you don't mind. I'm going to pull up this handy dandy chart. You'll be able to hear me when I go to this next scene, but the audience won't be able to hear you until I bring you back. So give me just a moment. The handy dandy chart. If a white person, and we've got all of the sufficient conditions here. Hold on one second. I got it on the wrong screen there. There it is. Okay, boom. There's the handy chart for you. Here's a handy chart. If a white person moves out, that's white flight. If a white person moves in, that's gentrification. If a white person sees color, that's racism. If a white person doesn't see color, as this person has said, that's ignoring racism. If a white person doesn't partake in culture, then they're non-inclusive, like that photo. But if they engage in culture, it's cultural appropriation. This is what we call a Kafka trap. Are you familiar?
I am. I was just going to make that point myself. It's interesting. A colleague of mine just wrote something on this. Julian Odorni, he wrote this for Quillette, and basically saying CRT is pseudoscience, and made the same point about Kafka traps.
All right. Well, John, is there anything else that you'd like to share on this topic, or anything else that we'd like to let you before we let you go?
Not really. No, thanks for the invitation. Check out all our content at feed.org. I plugged my Substack already in the YouTube comments, so check out my stuff there. My Substack is The Take. But thanks for the invitation, AP.
Thank you very much, John. And we appreciate your weekly contributions, and especially all your great columns over at fee.org, the Foundation for Economic Education. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you again next week.
Hey, you too, man.
Thanks very much. What do you think of John Miltimore? Send us a text at 573-319-1586. That's 573-319-1586. Whew, boy, today is the show has been absolutely awesome. I've been enjoying it. How about you? You've been liking the show? Well, make sure you click the like button if you're enjoying what you're seeing. I do want to take a moment and talk to you. I want to actually ask you a favor. And it's kind of a big favor, especially because I know people who watch my show are very privacy oriented and things like that. But I want to ask you today for something, to give me some of your information, some of your personal information. I'm going to ask, and we're going to keep it safe. And the reason why is because I want you to learn, and I want to share with you some information about how to learn about how to secure your financial future. Now, I know that sounds like, a typical salesman pitch, but I'll tell you why. Because as somebody who does a lot of, stock market trading and analysis of the marketplace, I have to say that last year was a rough year for the markets. And if Joe Biden wins again, we're going to have a really difficult economy for the next few years. I want you to learn about how to protect your financial future by getting information from my friends at Lear Capital. So here's what I want to ask you to do. I want to ask you today to go to learaustin.com. I want you to sign up for their free gold and silver information kit. Now, I know it's a big thing. It's a big ask. It is, because you have to say to yourself, okay, I'm going to give this company my information. They're going to contact me. They're going to send me something, right, some information. But here's the thing. I promise you, they're not going to annoy the hell out of you, and they're not going to sell your information to anybody else, okay? If you do say to yourself, well, you know what, honestly, I have been thinking about buying gold or silver. Well, it is a good time to buy now, because they've got this deal going on where if you buy an ounce of gold, they'll give you an ounce of silver for free. So you essentially are getting two great investments for the price of one. But you don't have to buy anything today. Just get more information, learn more, take that step today. Trust me. I'm asking you to trust me. And I'm someone who, after having worked in politics for 15 years, still actually has a good reputation for guarding people's privacy, for being a good steward, for not being a scammer, for not being a shill for, terrible like Bitcoin, scams and all this kind of stuff. I've always maintained my integrity because I work with sponsors that I trust and value and know that I'm bringing value to people who watch my show and interact with my content. Lear Capital is that company that you can trust. Now, I trust them, and you can trust them too. Visit them today, learaustin.com. Take that step. Just get more information, because it won't hurt you to learn more about how to protect your financial future. Because listen, I'm not trying to fearmonger here, but Ian Howarth, when he was on the show earlier, was freaking me out because he was saying what I think is probably going to be true. We're probably staring down the barrel of another 4 years of Joe Biden, okay? And if you have a little money set aside and it's in cash, it's going to be, you're going to lose value. They're going to print much more money. The value of gold is going to increase, or at least you can hold on to the value that you have, right? Gold is not going to shoot up and it's not going to shoot down. You're going to be able to at least maintain value and then see a nice little increase in return. Plus, ask yourself this. Wouldn't you love to be able to have a nice little stock pile of gold one day that you can give to your kids or your grandkids, right? Make a nice little investment. You say to yourself, you know what? That was a good investment. There are a lot of investments that I made that I am sorry for, but my investments in gold and guns and ammunition, 3 investments that I have never regretted. Get more information today at learaustin.com. That's learaustin.com. All right, appreciate that. What do you think? How did I do? Okay, well, wow. We are at the end of the show today. It's been a great show. I didn't get to show you some of the responses to my coffee company, the rage over my coffee company. God, this was hilarious. I wonder if I'll be able to pull it up for you here just for a second. Yeah, let's see if I can do this. Would you like to see some of the rage that people had? Mostly woke leftists who were upset about this. Let's see if I can pull this up for you on the show. I need to get a better looking screen for you on this, but you can see. Okay, here we go. So I posted this. So the responses to my Founding Flavors coffee company. Oh, of course you can't see it. Why would you be able to see it? That would make too much sense. Here we go. So I posted my coffee company commercial yesterday, and this was one of the responses I got from it. You have a problem with black people drinking coffee? This woke nonsense is just KKK kooky, salty leftist. Responding to my Founding Flavors coffee company commercial yesterday. All I said was, why would you buy coffee from woke corporations that hate you? Jodine Sue says, like, you're literally using the word woke wrong. Coffee creates wokeness, as in not until my second cup of coffee. Okay, but no, I think I'm still using the word woke correct. Yes, awake might be the term that you're looking for, Jodine. Spark de Philly says, I'm tired of the word woke being used. If you use the word woke or not woke to describe your product, I just assume you've never had an independent opinion in your life. Do you think that Austin has ever had an independent opinion on his life? The man who is too libertarian for two libertarians. No, just kidding. Nominating for you for this year's The Grifties, AP. You've earned it. Well done. You know what? Grifting used to mean that you scam people, right? Try and sell them like crappy cryptocurrencies, or, take their money and run, or give them promise them one thing and then provide another. That's what grifting used to be, that you actually were a scammer. Right? You would promise all these people all these incredible results, or, that they were going to get this incredible pillow, and then you go and you get a pillow from that company, and guess what? It's a terrible pillow and it doesn't help me at all. Well, guess what? If you go to apforlibertyshop.com, if you go to my website, there are real written reviews from real people just like yourself who review my products, and they love it. And we've got out of the 55 or 60 reviews or so of our products, I think we've only gotten once or twice we've gotten 1 star. And once it was just confusion, or it was just it got lost in the mail or something like that. And once it was a person just accidentally hit the 1 star button or something like that. So, I never thought that starting a coffee company would trigger the left, and I triggered a libertarian. Apparently there's another coffee company out there that has founding flavor, or founding fathers themes to their coffee, and they claim that they sent me coffee a couple of years ago, and now they're kind of sideways accusing me of stealing their idea, or copying them or something like that. And I went to their website and I looked at it, and it was the most boring, crappy, they would take old paintings of the founding fathers. Get this. They would take old paintings of the founding fathers, and I'm not going to pull up their website because I don't want to show my competitors off there, but it's old paintings of founding fathers is buy our coffee, and it's this is our brand. But I mean, that's not a brand. You're just taking pictures of the founding fathers and naming it that. But check this out. Let's go to my website. And people were so triggered by this Founding Flavors coffee. Oh, for the love of God, why isn't it showing up? There we go. Hold on. Let's go to this. There we go. apforlibertyshop.com. Here we go. Founding Flavors. Check this out. So here's our collection, our coffee collection right there. See this? We worked really hard on building this. This is a serious brand, right? Washington's Revolutionary Roast. You can see down here the really cool branding, 100% coffee, manufactured for apforlibertyshop.com, Jefferson City, Missouri. This is legit branding, right? And Stephanie and I created this ourselves. Betsy Ross, our decaf, Liberty Lullaby, decaf coffee, right? This is actual branding, right? So we didn't get any idea from anybody else. We just I love the founding fathers, and I love freedom, and I love America. And so I decided to create the Founding Flavors coffee brand. But we honestly really did not take any inspiration from anybody else at all. But when you are starting to eat somebody's lunch, or you start competing with them, I got angry tweets from people I only buy coffee from these people who sell founding fathers related coffee. That's fine, dude. But I mean, we're all capitalists, it's there's enough for everybody to eat, wouldn't you say? I would say so. What do you think? Why are people so triggered? You know what it was? It was because I used the word woke. That was what triggered people. I was like tired of buying woke coffee, and I called out Black Rifle Coffee by name, because if you're drinking Black Rifle Coffee because you think they support your values, think again. Dude, go look at what they said about Kyle Rittenhouse supporters. Yeah, and check out the CIA agent who works with them, right? They're like the biggest supplier of coffee to the Pentagon, right? The Department of Defense. Why are you buying coffee from people who spy on you? Why are you buying coffee from people who don't share your values? Why are you buying coffee from people who hate you? I don't hate you. Actually, I kind of love you, right? You're my people. We are people. If you're drinking coffee every morning, don't buy it from people who don't share your values. Why are you compromising your principles for a cup of coffee? Don't do it. Buy your coffee from me. Here's the deal. Buy a bag. If you like it, buy a bundle. Here's the thing. Let me show you real quick the bundles page. So if you buy more than one, go to the bundles page. Coffee bundles. You can buy subscriptions, which are awesome. But if you buy a bundle, let's say like right now, I want to buy, Jeffersonian Java, Revolutionary Roast, Liberty Lullaby, right? Let's say we're going to buy the whole bundle. Look at that. The savings start adding up. You get to 12%, right? Once you buy 4 or more. Look at that. You're going to save like $13, right? And of course, you want to select, what do you want? Ground, or do you want whole bean? A lot of people like the whole bean, right? And then if you want, you can do a one-time purchase, or you can actually go in and buy, a subscription. Ugh, running out of time. AP, stop it. There we go. All right, I've got to run. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed the show today. Thanks so much for tuning into the Wake Up America show. And thanks for putting up with my shilling. At least you know that I'm shilling for good stuff. My delicious coffee brand, my awesome sponsors, Lear Capital, Gold, and John Burke, of course, the Shell Shock CBD, who helped to make this happen. And of course, you, our monthly subscribers, who help make the Wake Up America show happen. I am eternally grateful for you. They may call me a grifter, but we know it's not true. Wake Up America show is brought to you by people like you. I hope you enjoy the content that I work very hard to bring you every single day, because it ain't easy. It's nice to have Camellia on and to get these, all these bookings and guests and things like that. I have to make money in order to be able to bring you the Wake Up America show. It's very expensive to produce this show. It costs me hundreds of dollars a month just in fees for camera, for like subscriptions for software, and like the camera stuff breaks all the time. HDMI cords always. It's very, very expensive. So your financial support really means a lot. It helps us to ensure that next month, the Wake Up America show, wow, coming up on our 1-year anniversary next month. Can you believe it? How exciting. Thanks to people like you. It's been because of our sponsors, your support, and of course your contributions, as well as purchasing from AP for Liberty Shop. We'll see you tomorrow. Thanks so much for listening to the show, and don't forget to click that like button and subscribe on your way out. See you tomorrow on the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com. Tired of spending your hard-earned money on woke corporations that don't share your pro-freedom values? Fed up with sipping liberal lattes and progressive cappuccinos? Introducing Founding Flavors from AP for Liberty Shop. Get your day started with Washington's Revolutionary Roast. As robust and principled as the man himself, this blend is the shot of energy heard round the world. Or maybe you want to taste the fervor of freedom with Adams's Patriotic Perk. It's as dynamic and balanced as the U.S. Constitution, sure to awaken your spirit of liberty. For the aficionados, we've got the Jeffersonian Java, a complex mix of flavors that speaks volumes about your refined tastes. And don't forget Betsy's Liberty Lullaby, our decaf option, crafted with the same care and dedication Betsy Ross put into our Star-Spangled Banner. This blend lets you enjoy the taste of freedom anytime without losing sleep. No woke beans here, folks. Just pure, patriotic, pro-freedom flavors brewed with love for liberty. So why compromise your principles for a cup of coffee? Stand up for your values, perk up your patriotism, and start your day the American way. Get your founding flavors at apforlibertyshop.com.